On August 5, 1922, in Logan, Utah, Elsie Nora Sona and Leslie Thomas Perry welcomed their fourth child and oldest boy into the world and named him Lowell Tom Perry. He is currently 90 years old. Elder L. Tom Perry comes from a great pioneer heritage. Gustavus Adolphus Perry, Elder Perry's great-great-grandfather, arrived in the Salt Lake Valley in 1853 and did much to pioneer the area. He settled in the 3 Mile Creek settlement, which was later renamed Perry, Utah, in honor of the Perry family. While Elder Perry was growing up, his parents would take the family up Logan Canyon and they would fish, go on hikes, or play horseshoes. Ted Perry, Tom's younger brother, said, "Tom was a neighborhood leader among the boys. No umpires were needed for our ball games because he had an unusual ability to arbitrate disputes. As a result, the games were remarkably free from contention."
One day I was made an attractive offer by a group of Marines, buddies of mine, as we were about to go on a liberty. It wasn't until after we were on our way that I discovered that this was not in the best of company to be in. It was then that I found out that the reason they had invited me was because they knew of my standard. They knew that I would be sober when it was time to return to the base, and I could guide them back. We found ourselves in Los Angeles on a streetcar headed towards a dance hall. They had already started to drink a little, and I was ready to part their company. It was here that protective shield took over, and I knew the prayers of my parents for my welfare. For the streetcar stopped and allowed new passengers to come aboard. And the new passengers separated me from my buddies and pushed me to the back of the car. It was there that I discovered a nice group of young people standing and seated. Immediately upon finding myself in their company, one spoke up and said, "Hi, Marine, we're Mormons. What do you know about our church?" I answered plenty and got off the streetcar with them and went to a ward social.
After Elder Perry's release from military service, he returned to school in Logan, Utah, and began courting Virginia Lee of Hyde Park. They were married in a Logan temple on July 18, 1947. Elder Perry and his wife Virginia started a family and became the parents of 3 children, 2 daughters, Linda and Barbara, and a son, Lee. In building his career with department stores, Elder Perry first moved his family to Boise, then Sacramento. In 1962, he took a job in New York. 4 years later, they moved to Boston. After graduating, when Elder Perry took his first position with a firm in Idaho, he was trying to learn a new job and get his family settled and was called to be the second counselor in the bishopric. His first reaction was to decline and feel justified about it, but previous training spoke louder than present excuses, and he agreed to serve. This was a vital choice that directed the course of his life. His work demanded 6 days a week, with church callings on top, so Elder Perry had to get creative to squeeze in his top priority, his family. The future apostle's solution? Make some days sacrosanct. Monday nights were reserved for family home evening, Friday for dates with Virginia, and Saturday mornings for work around the house. Elder Perry also made it a habit to take his only son with him as he drove to his church assignments. The twosome would chat about sports, school, and the church. Then Perry would enlist the boy to help with his sermons as a way of keeping him engaged. His son remembers that his dad loved a good story and was quick to laugh, even at himself. The kids also loved to rip him about doing things such as labeling his hangers for easy dressing. When he was stake president, Elder Perry had the privilege of setting his son apart as a missionary. Lee remembers, "My father is not one to show a lot of emotion, but he was in tears during the blessing, and then he followed it up by writing a letter and putting it into my suitcase without my knowledge. When I got to the mission home and opened my bags, there was the letter. In it, he told me he was proud to be my father. Since I've always idolized him, that was pretty significant. It stayed with me as a source of strength and comfort throughout my mission." Though routinely playful and positive, Elder Perry also understands sadness and adversity. He dug deep into his emotional resources when his first wife, Virginia, was diagnosed with cancer. Together, the couple would seek solace with frequent visits to the Walden Pond of Thoreau fame. Elder Perry recounts, "When my wife was feeling strong enough, we'd go for a walk around the pond. Other days, when she did not feel up to the exertion of walking, we'd just sit in the car and talk. Walden Pond was our special place to pause, reflect, and heal." In 1974, 8 months after Elder Perry became an apostle, his wife Virginia died, which was devastating to him. But the grieving father dealt with his loss by turning his attention to his daughter Barbara, who was still in high school. He dealt with the death of his first wife with quiet dignity and relentless optimism. Lee, his son, shares, "Of all the things I admire most about my father, it's the way he can take what comes and not be knocked down by it. He just has this resilience, this hardiness that helps him." In March 1983, Elder Perry also lost his daughter Barbara to cancer. Elder Perry shares, "One of the challenges of this mortal experience is to not allow the stresses and strains of life to get the better of us, to endure the varied seasons of life while remaining positive, even optimistic. The Lord is very kind. Even though some experiences are hard, He floods your mind with memories and gives you other opportunities. Life does not end just because you have a tragedy. There's a new mountain to climb. Don't spend a lot of time sulking over what you've lost. Get on with climbing the next mountain." Elder Perry did just that and moved steadily forward. In January 1976, he was introduced to Barbara Dayton, and they were married that April in the Salt Lake Temple. Barbara shares, "We enjoy doing just about everything together. We've gardened together, we've scraped ceilings, we jog together a couple times a week and take long walks. Whenever possible, Elder Perry drives to conference assignments instead of flying, so he can take Barbara with him." Elder Perry's family has continued to grow in the righteous traditions he established. He teaches us, if we build righteous traditions in our families, the light of the gospel can grow ever brighter in the lives of our children from generation to generation. We can look forward to that glorious day when we will all be united together as eternal family units to reap the everlasting joy promised by our eternal Father for His righteous children. Our family activities and traditions can be a beacon to the rest of the world as an example of how we should live to merit His choice blessings and live in peace and harmony until the day that He returns to rule and reign over us.
Roberta Jensen tells of a time she was flying on an airplane with her 4 young children. Trying to keep her children quiet, she noticed the tall, cheerful man sitting across the aisle. The passenger introduced himself as Elder L. Tom Perry. As the plane took off, Roberta's children began to cry. Noticing the panic of this young mother, Elder Perry offered to hold the baby. During the rest of the trip, he cared for the infant, rocking him to sleep. Roberta was very grateful for his kindness and willingness to help. He saw someone in need of help, and he set aside his own needs to give that help. Do you follow the example set by Elder Perry to set aside your own needs to give help to someone else? Elder Perry had a successful career in retail and business. In his occupation in the business world, he firmly maintained his integrity. He even severed his connection with a company because its business practices were not compatible with standards he believed in. Elder Perry tells the following story. He remembers his quart of milk sitting out with all the alcoholic beverages during social hour. He said, "I was teased a little about it, but was secretly admired for what it was doing. Before long, there were 2 quarts of milk, and then 3. He gives members the following advice. Set your standards of values and never compromise it. Have it grounded on the gospel. Don't be afraid to let people know what you believe in and what you live by." Do you set your standards high? Do you let people know what you believe in and live by? Elder Perry learned from his father the importance of including his family in his work and church callings. Elder Perry's children helped take inventory at the store and worked on financial records. He also involved his family in his church activities whenever possible. They would type and proofread talks, make copies for him, found quotes and stories, and served as timekeepers. His son Lee tells of a time he went with his dad on a speaking assignment. He said, "He would give me his watch, and I would sit in the center of the congregation, a few rows from the front." Lee continues, "We used the signs of the 3 monkeys, see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. If he wasn't standing straight, I would cover my eyes. If he was speaking too loudly, I would cover my ears. And just before his time was up, I would cover my mouth." Elder Perry said, "I think any parent should let his family become involved and never isolate them from what he is doing. When he does that, they feel closer and they feel the need to make contributions. We can follow Elder Perry's example and make our family a real priority."
When I was your age, I had an experience that helped me understand the importance of service. 10 years ago, the experience was told in a video, Special Witnesses of Christ. I want you to see it again tonight. There was an experience in my life which has often reminded me of the joy resulting from asking the question, what would the Savior do in this situation? I was among the first wave of Marines to go ashore in Japan following the signing of the peace treaty following World War II. As we entered the devastated city of Nagasaki, it was one of the saddest experiences of my life. A large part of the city had been totally destroyed. Some of the dead had not yet been buried. As occupation troops, we set up headquarters and went to work. The situation was very bleak, and a few of us wanted to give more. We went to our division chaplain and requested permission to help rebuild the Christian churches. Because of government restrictions during the war, these churches had almost ceased to function. Their few buildings were badly damaged. A group of us volunteered to repair and replaster these chapels during our off-duty time so that they would be available for the holding of Christian services again. We had no command of the language. All we could accomplish was the physical labor of repairing the building. We found the ministers who had been unable to serve during the war years and encouraged them to return to their pulpits. We had a tremendous experience with these people as they again experienced the freedom to practice their Christian beliefs. An event occurred as we were leaving Nagasaki to return home that I will always remember. As we were boarding the train that would take us to our ships to return home, we were teased by a lot of the other Marines. They had their girlfriends with them and saying goodbye to them. They laughed at us and indicated that we had missed the fun of being in Japan. We had just wasted our time laboring and plastering walls. Just as they were at the height of their teasing, up over a little rise near the train station came about 200 of these great Japanese Christians from the churches we had repaired, singing "Onward, Christian Soldiers." They came down and showered us with gifts. Then they all lined up along the railroad track, and as the train started down the tracks, we reached out and just touched their fingers as we left. We couldn't speak. Our emotions were too strong. But we were grateful that we could help in some small way in reestablishing Christianity in a nation after the war.
Recently, in the April 2013 General Conference, Elder L. Tom Perry said, "Victory in the war in heaven was a victory for man's agency. Satan, however, was not done. His backup plan, the plan he has been executing since the time of Adam and Eve, was to tempt men and women, essentially to prove we are undeserving of the God-given gift of agency." This quote gives me motivation to make the hard choices and prove Satan wrong.
Elder Perry gives the following quote during the April 2010 General Conference. Parents must bring light and truth into their homes by one family prayer, one scripture study session, one family home evening, one book read aloud, one song, and one family meal at a time. They know that the influence of righteous, conscientious, persistent daily parenting is among the most powerful and sustaining forces for good in the world. This quote teaches me the importance of my role as a mother to teach my children light and truth.
Elder L. Tom Perry, at 6 foot 4 inches tall, with big hands and an even bigger grin, is the oldest and tallest living Mormon apostle. He also might be the least well known, and that, says those who know him, is no accident. "My father doesn't need to be the center of attention," says his son Lee. "He is a listener who brings out the best in others. There is no ego in the man, no hidden agenda. He lives life with enthusiasm."